Hi. Sorry, I had to leave and come back. It wasn't working. I don't know. Hi.
Hi, I'm proud of us. We have all of us here. Instagram
I
just started allowing this, so.
I can't even believe we have figured this out. Well, I can't believe I figured it out. I mean, I knew Robin would, but let's be real. Let's be real. I'm so proud. Okay.
How are you guys? I was just telling everyone how awesome you are and how excited we are to be talking to you.
I mean, I don't know if we're awesome, but we're something.
You are something. How's it going?
Pretty good. I have
Um,
just disclaimer here. I got a house full of children, wife, babysitter. Everybody's here because my daughter had a stuffy nose this morning, so she couldn't leave the house until we
oh
got a COVID
no.
test. She's fine. I don't think
Okay.
it's COVID, but here we go again.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Jaimie didn't even tell me that yet.
No, I haven't told you that. Now you know.
I'm grabbing headphones. Don't say anything important without me. I'll be right back.
So you're just learning about each other here.
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't know if this will be considered important or not, Robin, but so to dive right in, obviously, we love your podcast and book, which we'll talk more about very soon, of course, and just all of the honesty, all the awareness you're bringing around LGBTQ family building and fertility journeys, and all with a side of humor. And for those who aren't aware, we can't forget to mention that you are Webby Award honorees, as well as winners of the podcast award for Best LGBTQ Podcast. So I'm sure the list will continue to go on from there.
God,
Let's hope.
so.
God.
Yes, it will. And just quickly, for those who are new to us, GoStork is the only fertility marketplace where intended parents find, compare, and connect with top fertility providers. And we're on a mission to bring transparency to the fertility industry and to help intended parents make much more informed decisions about their fertility providers. So we love to help bring advice and insights from the experts, as well as those who have walked the path new intended parents are just about to embark on. And so that's why you're here.
Jaimie, she called us experts. Did you hear that, Jaimie? She called
I don't know.
us experts.
I got a little nervous. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
I'd say you qualify. It's both, right? Prior intended parents and experts from talking to so many others.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, totally. How do I keep my screen from going dark on me? Is yours, Robin?
Mine's doing that too.
Okay,
I guess
it's just a thing.
Keep touching it.
Okay,
We're just going to keep touching it. Every once in a while, everyone will see our fingers coming at the screen.
Why does Instagram do this to us? It's like,
I don't know.
Changing. It's not happening to me.
The biggest platform, and yet you still can't get it right. Instagram.
Yeah,
come on now.
There must be some setting we have to fix. I don't know. Whatever.
Well, it's not happening now, so.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty awesome. Okay, all right, let's do this.
Thank you again. And so I wanted to dive in and start by hearing your stories, how you built your families. I believe both of your journeys, though resulting in such beautiful families, didn't end up going the way you originally expected. So we'd love to hear all about that, what you originally planned, and then how you navigated those unexpected changes, what you learned along the way.
This is not quick, so we're gonna do our best. Because
I can finish my salad while Jaimie tells her story.
Robin, you're gonna go first because mine goes long. But if there's one thing we've learned that has made us experts in LGBTQ family building is that no single story is without its complications in our world. Mm-hmm. Something always veers off course. Something because we need help to make our kids. So there's too many variables already, like from the get-go, with our family making experiences. So without further ado, I'm gonna pass it to Robin and let Robin start with hers.
So, I mean, by LGBTQ standards, I had a fairly easy go of it. Like, my wife and I knew she was a little older than me, so we knew that it was going to be my eggs that we were going to use. And originally, she wanted to be pregnant. I don't know if she wanted or no. I'm sorry. We were going to use. Wait, is that right? Oh my God, did I forget already?
I know it. I'll tell you.
Mary was going to carry. I know, but it didn't sound like. It's so funny because
you hear so many.
No, well, also because
You're like, which story was mine?
It's been this way for so long that I forgot that was even what we were originally going to do. Like, it just doesn't even seem real anymore. But originally we were going to take my egg and Mary was going to carry, also known as reciprocal IVF. And we didn't know that it was called that at the time. We were just like, take my eggs, put it in her hopper, and she'll feel connected, because we were concerned about that. You know, there's always like concerns about connection. And we got started, and, you know, we were jostled about by the system a little bit, you know, but they were like, you're good to go. And we were at that moment of sitting there with all of the prescriptions in front of us. Like, we had a cocktail in front of us, and we were like, this is a lot. And, you know, we were like, what are we doing? And we realized that we had, in terms of our savings, we had really, if it costed the most amount, because, you know, they say it could be this much or it could be this much. And those numbers, the discrepancy between those two numbers was $20,000. And so if it had costed the high end, we could do it once. And we had about a 40% chance of a 40%. And we were like, that seems crazy, when we could just put it in my hopper and see what happens. And that day, that
the
night,
sperm, just the sperm in your hopper.
Yeah, not anything else.
Just throw that sperm in there.
Just stick it in. And that night, over drinks, looking at the prescription forms, we were like, we're not calling these in. This is crazy. And I remember Mary very clearly saying, I think I wanted to do this because I was afraid I wouldn't be connected, and I'm not afraid of that anymore. So let's not do it. And like a week later, I was pregnant. I had a miscarriage. So it was like 3 more months before I got pregnant. But, you know, that was my whole journey, you know, in terms of, it was nowhere near what Jaimie went through.
But she did, in trying to have the same donor for her second child, end up on a wild trip to Bogota, Colombia, to try to get some sperm that wasn't still available anywhere else.
Yes.
Is this what you refer to in the beginning of your podcast, where it's like, how do I get these sperm through customs?
Yes.
Exactly.
I was curious about that.
Because there was this woman in Bogota who was, she had a child by the same donor as my first. And so we got on like the sibling registry boards to find out, and she had 1 vial. And so we were on the phone, and there was a little bit of a language barrier. I mean, she spoke English, but, you know, not amazingly well. I spoke no Spanish. And I was literally like, how do I get it through customs? And all I could see, as far as I knew, this was the last vial of, you know, number, 79526. And I was like, I could just see some idiot at customs being like, what's this? And opening it, and then it just being like, bloop, 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 you know? And so, and that's when, and it melting. That's what I pictured. That's literally what I pictured.
Bloop, bloop, bloop. I just picture the sperm melting.
Is that how it goes?
That's how it goes. Bloop, bloop, bloop.
It sounds like that too.
I went to Bogota. She said, why don't you bring the mountain to Mohammed? And I said, I thought that was the coolest thing. And she was so amazing. And I went there for like 7 days. It didn't work. We ended up with a new donor, but it was a pretty good story. And it has sound effects now. Bloop, bloop, bloop.
Bloop, bloop, bloop. No joke. I'm pretty sure I saw a delivery man with, what are they called? The sperm container?
The sperm tanks? The sperm tanks?
I'm pretty sure he had it in like a box, but it was it said cryo on it. I was like, and it was just the right size on the street today. I'm pretty sure I saw a delivery man with a sperm tank. And I wanted to ask him, but I felt that might be too forward, so I didn't.
Probably a bit much, and he doesn't want to know.
Because then I wanted to take a picture with him too. And
no.
That's a little too far with the selfie.
Tell your story,
Jaimie,
Jaimie,
like,
oh my God.
Selfies
before we
like
get
6
kicked
feet
off
away.
this live.
Yeah. My story took a little bit longer. The beginning of it was really smooth, except for the fact that I always assumed that I would be the one to carry the child or the children. I hadn't decided how many I wanted, but I always knew that I was going to be the carrier. That was a given. And when I got married to my wife, that was always the agreement. Yeah, we're going to have at least a kid, and yeah, you're going to carry. I don't really have the desire to carry. Then cut to like a week or a month after we got married, we were sitting in a bar over beers, and my wife and I had just come back from a tour because I was an actress. I had just come back from a tour. So we were like, you know, back together again, and we're having beers, and she looks to me, she goes, you know, I think I want to have a baby. And I was like, what? Absolutely. You know, so that threw us for a loop. All of a sudden she wanted to carry. She's out there listening to this. She's going to come in here and be like, that's not how it happened.
That's not what happened.
I think it's funny, like, you guys hear so many stories all the time, but maybe you haven't told yours in a little while.
Can you tell? So so anyway, the plan had to change. Now all of a sudden she wants to carry. She was 7 years older than me, so she was already 39 at this point. I wasn't ready to have babies yet. My career was like going strong, and I thought we had at least another 5 years, but we had to get started right away, and we had to get started with her. So she ended up being the first person to carry. We went quickly to a fertility doctor, got that all figured out, and ended up having to do a last-minute IVF. After 5 IUIs, it took, bing, bang, boom, daughter was born, beautiful, lovely, bow, ba-dow, right? And then,
Bloop, bloop, bloop.
bloop, bloop, bloop. And then we wanted to have the second one, and we thought we wanted them 2 years apart, because that's like the ideal age apart. I don't know why parents think that that's a good thing, but anyway. So
My kids are 2 years apart. It's not.
I mean, nothing is ideal. Nothing is ideal. It's always going to be hard. But anyway, we didn't know that at the time. So we got started trying to get me pregnant when our daughter was 18 months, because we were going to get me secretly pregnant. We weren't going to tell anybody, but I was going to be so fertile, obviously, because I was younger, and I was just going to get like secretly pregnant, and nobody was going to know, and then we were going to announce it. That didn't happen. Cut to 2.5 years later, after at least 20 IUIs, 3 IVFs, the fear of having to use somebody else's uterus, a doctor switch, a whole crazy herbal regime, all this stuff that I went through, I finally got pregnant with my son, and finally had that baby I had been hoping for that long time. I don't know. Is that in a nutshell? Did I say everything?
Yeah, and just about that doctor switch, like, was that because you didn't feel like they were really understanding the care you needed, or what was going on with you?
So here's the thing, and here's what I said in my stories. I should have known. I should have known this doctor needed
Your
to
stories this morning made me a little nervous.
You see, I told you, Robin. I was like,
we were texting back and forth. She was like, I think I shouldn't have said that. And I was like, she knows what she's getting with us.
So
I do. It's fine.
the story behind that is, I went in for an IVF transfer, and that's the point where they've already harvested your eggs. You're going in and they're going to put them in. So your spouse is with you. My wife was with me. We're behind the curtain. I'm in the things. And he comes back, and this must have been the second transfer that we did. And he comes behind the curtain and he goes, well, we got some test results. And is there something you want to tell us all? And I was like, no, why? What do you mean? He was like, well, you tested positive for syphilis. And I was like, no, I didn't. There is absolutely...
I love that you were like, no, I did not.
It's like, there is absolutely no way that I could have tested. There's no way. I wasn't having even sex at that point. Like, there's nothing. And he was like, well, is there something you want to tell us? I can leave the room if you want to talk to Anne about it. I was like, no, seriously, there is nothing. He didn't believe me. I had to convince him. And then it turns out it was a false positive. So everybody who's listening right now, just so you know, there's such thing as a false positive test for syphilis. So if you really don't think you have it, push
Advocate
back
for yourself.
I'm serious. Advocate. Anyways, but I should have known right then and there that he wasn't the right doctor for us. But I kept going with him for way longer than I should have. And I should have trusted my gut from the start. The point of that long story is I should have trusted my gut from the start and switched doctors, because right after I switched doctors, I got pregnant on the second IUI with that doctor.
And so are there like more questions you would have asked in advance, or like what would you tell your younger self that would have kind of helped you with that journey a little bit sooner?
Honestly, trust your gut. Listen to your gut. Listen to your gut. I knew he wasn't right. I knew there were so many weird conversations that we had. He was great for my wife, and it all worked really well. But as soon as we switched to me, something was off. I knew it felt wrong. And I really think that was a huge factor in me not getting pregnant. Something was off. I should have trusted my gut. Yeah.
I think you said something about like, to me before, about them immediately going towards infertility when you didn't have any infertility issues, right? So it was just like an assumption. Yeah.
That happens a lot with our families, with the LGBTQ community. And Robin, I don't know if you want to expand on that, because you say it so beautifully. And now, and you know me.
Well, now I won't, but when I went in, the doctor, we knew what we wanted. We wanted to do my egg, Mary carried, and we knew that. And he just kept pushing me down this whole path of like, you can do this, you can do that. We're going to test you and then you'll see. And I was like, you don't get to tell me, like, I'm paying you. Like, I was looking at it like I was getting a nose job. Like, I want the Jennifer Aniston nose job. I want you to give me the, you know, the cute little, like, and like, I'm paying for it. And instead we were going into a system that was set up for people who had fertility issues, and we didn't have that. And so that was really difficult there was no acknowledgement from the doctor or anyone on the staff that you might look at our cases a little differently. You know, you should see first, like that, you know, just the ratcheting to IVF, like within like 2 months of an IUI doesn't work, they're sending you to.
That's what they did to Anne. They went
IVF.
Yeah,
because their numbers are reported and they care about that. I mean, that's why I think you asked Jaimie about what would you tell your younger self. I think when I tried, when you were getting sperm from a bank, you couldn't do at-home insemination. That's changed now. They can send you, like, what is it, not washed or whatever that is, or not whatever that
they can send you. You could always get unwashed or washed sperm, but they couldn't send it to a house. They had to send it to a fertility clinic.
There was something like that, and now you can. And so it's like, I would have done that. Like, because it's like, I would have tried that for a solid 6 months before I would have even considered going to a doctor to see if something was not right. And we could have saved a lot of money. And we
because,
you know.
Because the moment you go to one of those doctors, that's what it's set up for. It's set up for people with fertility problems, and rightly so. And there should be doctors like that, because there are a lot of people with uteruses with fertility issues, right?
Uteruses with.
Well, I wanted to be inclusive in my language, right? So, like,
it just came out weird.
Usually things I say come out weird. We know this, but like, so True. Yeah, that has to be there. But I just wish, like, it would be great if there were fertility clinics for LGBTQ people who don't necessarily have problems. That would be amazing. Somebody needs to start that.
Or just like sensitivity, like, so that when you go to the clinic, they talk to you as if, like, there's no reason for us to assume that there's any fertility issues. And maybe if they weren't beholden to stats and numbers, they might approach us differently. But, you know, their numbers are being reported, and anyone can research that, and that affects the money, and that affects clients. And so I get all that, but it's not a great experience for an LGBTQ person coming in, because I also think it would have taken the pressure down. There's something about being monitored and going in. Like, I remember 1 month going in, and they were like, "Oh, your follicles are not," because, you know, they're checking your follicle on day 50, on
syphilis.
day 10, 11, whatever. I didn't have gonorrhea or syphilis, but they were like, "Oh, your follicle is not that big this month." And one doctor was like, "Yeah, maybe we'll skip it." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And then the other doctor was like, "Don't listen to that doctor, we're going." And I was just like, so I just threw, like, whatever amount of sperm out the window, like whatever that cost out the window, because you guys don't even agree. And I didn't even know that could happen. Like, who knew that? And there's some months that I was like, that happens. And they were like, "Oh yeah, it'll just shed itself, and it just doesn't, you know, it just goes." But it, you know, like, the pressure would have been less if it was just at home and I was checking some things and then just sticking it in there. I don't know.
Yeah, but also that could make your journey a lot longer, and you have to be prepared for that. So, you know, there's so many things, there are so many elements we have to take into account when we go onto this family building journey. And like Robin and I are always saying, like, ever since we started this podcast and we've heard everybody else's stories, there are things we might have done differently, but when we were in it, in the moment in our lives, that was the best option for us, and it was right, you know? So you can't overthink it.
Yeah, but also, like, you know, if you were to give advice to someone just beginning their journey, for LGBTQ couples or singles, just considering fertility providers, who to go with, like, what questions would be helpful to ask in your consultations, like vetting several different options? Like, what would you have asked to make sure you kind of made a more informed decision?
I think another thing that comes up with us a lot is, a lot of time we call this LGBTQ drafting, right? So we'll go with the fertility clinic that a friend went to because we know that they were okay with that gay couple, or we'll look on websites, and if there's a picture,
if there's a rainbow,
if there's an LGBTQ couple on their website, you're more likely to go to it. But I think we need to go deeper than that. And we've learned this from guests we've had on the podcast who've really delved in with their clinics and helped them fix their language and help them fix the way they deal with our community, which is not something Robin or I have done. But like, I think that when you, the questions you can ask are you can go in there and ask questions regarding our community and how much you have worked with our community and how many LGBTQ couples have you helped to get pregnant? What were those stories?
How do you approach it differently?
Do they treat them like they're token gay couple? Like these kinds of things matter.
But that's also why what you guys are doing at GoStork is so important, because you're providing a place with transparency and with reviews. Like LGBTQ drafting,
and
what we talk about asking your friends and rainbows. Like you all have taken our LGBTQ drafting. Not that we're saying you took our idea, but we're just saying like, and you blew it up, but you stole it, and we'll be expecting residuals. But
copyrighted that.
And you
guys came up with the rainbow icon on a website.
Yeah, we sure did. And you blew it up though. And so now that's a place where people can go and read reviews from real people, because I think that's part of it too. Is like you need real time. You need to know what is important to you on the journey. Like you need to know, like, do you have one person in the couple who has issues, like maybe is non-binary and is concerned with microaggressions? Do you have insurance? You need to know what is important for you, and then you need to research the crap out of it to just find your path.
Yeah, I like what kind of language is important to you. Do you not want to be gendered? Do you not, all these things you need to figure out first what matters to you, and then find the right clinic for you. And if you don't find the right clinic, and this is something I don't have the balls to do, but if you don't find the right clinic, help a clinic be the clinic you need them to be, which is a whole nother can of worms, but people have done it, and it's possible.
Someone on your podcast, right? I think. I think that, and thank you so much for sharing your stories and that, kind of what you learned along the way. But also you two are so generous to do a blog with us for our website. And like you've kind of said just now, you said something really simple and beautiful there that I loved, which was that every LGBTQ family is a very intentional and beautiful story, and that in all of your interviews, no two are the same. And so you've kind of alluded to this a little bit now, but now that you've heard so many family building stories, are there a couple others that really stood out that you really learned from that you could share with us, that you think new intended parents could learn from or be inspired by?
This question is always so hard.
I would say no. There was one that, I mean, there's so many. Like they're like our children. Like we love every interview. We're always like that was awesome.
I know.
We call each other after. Yeah, we did one last night.
We just did it last night.
I was like, weren't they so great?
That's so good.
Every interview we do that. We're like, I love them.
Sweet.
But we had this couple, Mari and Michelle, who had triplets, and they did an IVF vacation, and I never knew that was a possibility, and I thought that was such a cool episode. Yeah, like get a vacation on and maybe get pregnant at the same time.
Get pregnant. I mean, the straights get to do it. Why can't we? Right. Make it romantic.
Yeah.
Like, so that was an interesting one, but there's also been a lot of like episodes, like we have really, really tried to make sure that our offerings are as diverse as our community is. So it's like, we have stories from trans folks. We have stories. We had a story last week, or is it this week, Jaimie? I don't know, with a queer woman who's married to a cis man. And so she is constantly,
that's this week.
It's now, right?
She's
that's
constantly
right now. Having to come out.
Everyone look out for that wherever you get your podcasts.
As queer. It's like, there's all of the stories are amazing. All of them.
And we've learned from every single one of them.
We learned something new last night. I can't remember what it was already.
I can't either. I can't. No, we learned like five things.
The scraping thing.
Oh,
they were a UK couple, and they said that their doctor for a period of time was doing like a endometrial lining scraping prior to, and it was painful, prior to implantation or IVF, in order to something about like the cells regenerate and create a space for growth.
It's a common.
And then they stopped doing it, but she had to go through 4 of them. And she said that men doctors were always like, it'll be fine, don't worry about it. And it was always hurt more, which we were like, oh, that's horrible. But
not like, that we're trying to man bash or anything like that.
No,
not at all.
but that's I never knew
So
that
that's
was a
also
thing.
fine. No worries.
Yeah. I mean, well, no,
Yeah,
we
we've
learn, yeah.
learned so much.
And we learn about language in every episode too. And we learn about,
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that. You had
Oh wait, one of
the
our
story
fast
about
cats,
someone that went.
Living Rosa just joined, and we
I know.
love them.
Hi, Living
Hi, Living
Rosa.
Rosa.
Living Rosa.
Sorry,
Beautiful
but
family.
like one of our faves right there just joined. It's
Oh,
funny you were
yay.
talking about faves, and a fave just joined.
Hi,
They have
babe.
4. They have 4.
Welcome.
I
Can
don't
you
even
believe
understand
it?
how they did it. I
4
don't even understand how
children.
they did it.
Wow.
They're like super women.
They are, and they're always like so prim, and they just always
And
look
their
beautiful.
pictures are perfect.
I mean,
and
it's
they're
like,
just like,
don't be
we're
so
like,
beautiful, but we love them
stop
and we
it.
follow them. I know. No, but go ahead, because I think the
You were
language
talking.
thing.
There was a couple that that went through some kind of microaggressions and not the best experience at a clinic, and then ended up really working with them to improve. And I think instead of taking another course of action, they took the course of like working together and helping them. So how did they help them? I just love to hear about that.
I mean, they went they went deep. They took on like another full-time job, basically. They went through all of their forms. They worked with HR. They had special trainings with the staff where they taught them inclusivity and helped them make sure that everything they did in that room was inclusive of whoever walked into the room. They went deep. And I think that they were trying to like kind of create a model and maybe bring it other places
elsewhere.
well.
Yeah. But to be really clear, they could have sued the clinic for the way they were treated.
Right.
And instead of doing that, they chose to work with the clinic. And I thought that was like another one where afterward, I mean, we were crying during that interview. It was so intense.
Because one of them in the couple was, I don't know if she identified as non-binary.
Non-binary.
But I think she was non-binary, and she faced some serious microaggressions from this clinic.
Yeah.
And but they took the high road, like Michelle.
Yeah. I know you haven't personally, either of you, done surrogacy, but would love to discuss if you had any stories on your podcast that resonated or that you kind of learned from around surrogacy. I know you've had a lot, so you're practically experts by now, but if there's any episodes you'd also point to if people want to hear the whole story, let us know.
Yeah, we had one last week with a woman who, she was a surrogate for 2 gay men. We also had Neil Patrick Harris's surrogate was on.
Can't say that.
Yes, we can. She was outed in the press. She said we could.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah,
It was a secret when we interviewed her, but I guess
I was
now.
going to say you heard it
she
here
was in
first, but I guess
Usman.
not.
But we've first of all,
Neil Patrick Harris's daughter has the exact same, is Harper Grace, which is my daughter's name, which I didn't know, but it's okay. I'm happy about it because that's a good.
It's okay. I mean, it's good. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
and Neil Patrick Harris is a good person, but I think that something that really resonates with me when it comes to surrogacy stories is every birth is a miracle, and I learned that in my crazy infertility journey. I realized how much of a miracle every single conception is.
Yeah.
But when you take it to the surrogacy route, I mean, the miracles and the things that have to take place and everything that falls into place for these families and these intended parents is just astounding and miraculous. And when it all works out and it all happens, it's just the most beautiful thing in the world. And these intended parents get the most amazing gift from this surrogate who's giving up her body to help these people. And every surrogate we've talked to has done it out of a place of love and a yearning to give, which I think is also miraculous. And then also from the egg donors that these gay couples get their eggs from, it's just 100% miraculous, the whole thing.
I think it's so amazing. Our founder had his first child through surrogacy before starting GoStork, and now
we talked to him.
Close to having his second one, which he shared his journey on your podcast. But I was actually talking to his surrogate, and she, since she was a teenager, has wanted to be a mom, but also wanted to be a gestational carrier. And I think there's so much more awareness now. I mean, at our age, I would have never known other friends in high school that were thinking about doing that. But I think it's so generous, and it's just amazing that you're sharing so many stories too.
You know what's really funny is also, and Robin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think every surrogate we've talked to has said that from the moment they were from the first time they saw it, when they were as little as they were, they knew that was something they needed to do in life. Yeah. Every single one. And Neil Patrick Harris's surrogate said it came from a soap opera. Which soap opera was it?
Days of Our Lives. Marlena. I want to have said Marlena Dietrich, but that's not. It's Marlena. She was Doctor something. Marlena something.
The actress in the show got pregnant, had a baby
using a surrogate. Yeah.
And so ever since she heard that story in a People magazine, she knew that was
in like
something
high
she
school.
wanted to do.
Yeah.
Which
I'm not
is
aware
just
of that
like
one, but it's just funny because TV often gets it so wrong, which actually, Jay Palumbo, she wrote an article about that for us about how TV gets surrogacy so wrong, which doesn't do anyone any favors. But if it inspired someone, then, that one is probably a good one, right? And so what do you think has changed most significantly, in recent years regarding support for LGBTQ family building? What still needs to evolve and improve, since you're hearing stories all the time?
I mean, I think that there is now more awareness. You know what I mean? Like it starts, the rainbow on the website starts with money, which makes me sad, but then it moves to awareness. And I think that they are starting to see us as a, a group of people with different needs. And I think that's changing somewhat. I think, again, things like GoStork and other organizations like that are starting to cultivate things together so that it makes the journey a little easier for people. I mean, it seems like, I could be wrong in this, but the science of it hasn't changed a ton, but the access to it has. And that, and insurance is coming along. There's places like Carrot, we're trying, and I think the other one's called Prodigy, that are now starting to work on fertility benefits with companies. And we're trying to actually get somebody from one of those organizations on our podcast as well, or on the live stream. And that's really helpful too, is to see companies, tech is leading the way with that, to see companies cover and expand LGBTQ fertility benefits, because that's important. Because as Jaimie said, as we say often, there is no way for us, with the exception of fostering to adopt, there's no way for us to become parents without paying. So like that idea of financial help is really important.
And I mean, and there is that one story we did have where there was a trans woman married to a woman, and they, as they said, baby dance the old-fashioned way to make that baby. But that is a 1 in a million.
But they were also
it was also a journey. It was also
and they were also working to like save sperm, and they had to see doctors because they weren't sure if her sperm was going to work, because she had been on estrogen for a while. So it's just like there was a lot of factors even for that. They still had to pay, even though they made the baby the old-fashioned way. Yeah,
it's true. And I also think just the representation that has come about even in the past 10 years is more so than it was 20 years before. So we're out there and we're using these services more and more and more, and we are out and open about it. And so the world is seeing it. Representation matters, right? So the more that we're out and open about it, the more we're going to start to see change. And it's not just a matter of just being out and open. Like, we need to work to make change and we need to fight to make change. But I do think that just being out and open is a huge factor in the industry changing.
Yeah. And thank you guys for doing that. I totally agree. And also as far as helping to afford it, I think people might not realize if their, employer has benefits, or that they could go advocate for them with HR if they don't. Check your insurance policies. There might be parts of the process that could be covered that you might not be aware of, or it's in the small print. So you just have to look everywhere. We actually
join your employee resource group to fight for, if you're an LGBTQ, join that LGBTQ resource group, or the parent one, and fight for benefits for people.
Yeah, like
adoptions.
We're even doing a talk with a big corporation soon, just to help. Yeah, to help their. I don't even know who we're helping, but help them get better insurance. Robin can explain better, but we're going to talk about, being
that was last year. We're just going to
having
speak
another
to their
one.
Yes, we are.
The LGBTQ group,
you guys
so that they can,
we're just going to speak to them.
Well, listen, I have plans of changing the world with this talk. I don't know about you, Robin, but let's, you go with your dreams and I'll go with mine.
Since I wrote the script, I think we're going with my dreams, but I still like that.
Listen.
Going rogue during the talk.
Listen. It's from our book.
Our little part is we just launched fertility financing, so the ability to apply for fertility loans through GoStork. But we're excited to do a lot more to come, so look out for that. But
that's amazing. That is
obviously
amazing.
Love, and I think that we have like resources that list out all the grants and loans and options out there, and just in articles, which hopefully helps some people. But we want to do more, and it's just amazing to follow along with what you guys are doing. And so, after all of your experiences with your own family building journeys, I'd love to get to like how you two connected and decided to create this If These Ovaries Could Talk thing. You said it started with, I believe, more about making babies and has turned into more about the personal stories. And I think in your words, I'm checking, what makes the journey hard, funny, exciting, and scary. So, how did we get here? How did you create this and decide to work together on this?
Well,
you heard Jaimie's story, so that started there.
It started with that story. It started with the infertility, and Robin and I were kind of like acquaintances. We were members of the same group that got together every Pride. Like I would see her once a year at the Pride family picnic, and then all of us moms with our kids would go to the kid-friendly gay bar, with the back room for the kids, and have margaritas and hang out every year. But so I had been going through this long bout of infertility, and I had been looking around everywhere for a place where I could hear my story. I was listening to podcasts. I was reading books. I was just trying to find my story, my exact story, a lesbian trying to get pregnant, having infertility with whatever I was going through, mirrored in anything around me, and I couldn't find it. And I couldn't believe I couldn't find it, because I knew there were lesbians out there getting pregnant. So I knew there had been some with infertility. And I just had the idea, well, this podcast needs to be made, but I didn't know how to make a podcast, nor do I ever follow through on any idea I ever have. And so all of a sudden we were getting ready, me and my wife, to go to
Except
the Pride
all
family.
the ideas we've been talking about in the last
here we go. That's where Robin comes in. So like we're getting ready to go to the Pride family picnic. And I said to my wife, I go, you remember how I said we should start a podcast? She's like, yeah. I was like, I don't know why. My wife always sounds like a trucker too, so she's not a trucker, but yeah. And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to ask Robin. And she was like, Robin who? It's like, Robin, Robin that we're going to see at the Pride family picnic. Robin? You're going to ask? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to ask her. It just like popped in my head. Let's do this podcast together. Because I knew she was an actress and a producer. And I don't know why I thought of Robin. It was divine intervention. That's what that was. And then I talked about it at the bar. All the lesbians at the bar thought it was an amazing idea, including Robin. And then we set up a meeting. I still didn't think it was going to happen, and not in a million years. This is never going to really happen. I go to Robin's day job, which was at Spotify Studios at the time. She pulls out her freaking laptop and proceeds to open like 100 Google Docs and production lists, and we come up with a name. Like it started happening, and that's because Robin's crazy. To say it the nice way.
I like to use the word productive, but you can call it crazy.
Productive.
So yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Robin. I talk a lot, so.
No, that's it. I mean, it's like it moved from there. We've often said that this process is like spiraled up. Like, it's just like everything just keeps moving toward it, and it just keeps building. It's like all of a sudden we had a book deal, and all of a sudden, we're writing a book, and then we have a book out, and we're doing speeches, and we're like, what's happening?
No idea.
Just like it started over a margarita. For me, she was pregnant. So
I was actually pregnant. I wasn't even drinking. How sad.
So it was a sober idea.
Yeah, I have my best ideas sober. Who'd have thunk?
Wow. And tell us about your book, what that process looked like and what it meant to get everything on paper, Like there aren't that many resources out there like this, and not ones that have earned a cross section of rave reviews from Amy Schumer to the the CEO of GLAAD, I should say. What has it meant for you to get that on paper? How's the response been? It must have helped so many families.
The response has been fantastic. And just like everything else with this project, we did the outline for the book in a half hour. And we just knew what it was. It was like it had been formulating before we even had the idea for it. And it really came together. And the book is in 2 parts, and it's like we use the podcast as a jumping off place. So you're going to have the first half of the book is about how to make your LGBTQ baby. So all the different ways in which we make our families, from deciding to who's going to carry, to the scientific route, to adoption, to, trans fertility, all of those things are covered in the first half. And then the second half is really like, now that you've got that, we used to say gay baby, but when we wanted to make then somebody I think our publisher pointed out to us that the baby is not gay. And we were like, oh. And we were like,
yeah, that was
rolls off the tongue better. But like, once you've got your baby, now what? And like, what's it like to be out in the world and with our different family makeups, and what's your family look like? But what's also amazing about it is the book exists on 2 levels as well, because we break it out into topics. And so you're hearing like Jaimie and I's personal journey, but then you're hearing snippets from all the different families we've talked to and their journeys. So you get this really rare book that has the path and all the things that you're gonna experience on your journey to make this family. But at the same time, you hear all these examples from other families. So you get this fabric of our community. Plus, it's like a how-to book. I'm so proud of what we did and what we accomplished with it, and to get that kind of feedback from people like Amy Schumer and Sarah Kate from GLAAD was just so. It was just like the cherry on the top for me.
Yeah.
For the record, I think Amy Schumer said, "I effing love this book."
Yes, she did.
I mean, I think she spelled it out. I don't know if we're doing that on this live.
She said it, and she spelled it out, and it was amazing.
And we love that. But then we were very sad to realize that Facebook won't let you promote things like that because of you can't even put the little dots or the asterisks. They get all like bunged about it. But we made it work. Because we were like, that's amazing.
Making it work. I think that's like the theme, right? And just so everyone knows, we're doing a giveaway of the book right now on our Instagram. So you have about another week, a little less than a week to enter. We're giving away a free book. So, check that out on our Instagram and enter to win.
And this book, I want to add, this book is not just for LGBTQ folks. It's for anyone who wants to learn about the LGBTQ parenting process, or anyone who just wants to hear about families. And, if you're in a family, this is going to resonate with you.
Yeah. But it's also great. Like, let's say you are in an LGBTQ family and you want to start having, want to start the conversations, but you don't know how to talk to your parents, your grandparents. It's a great thing that you can give them so they can get a sense of our community. I mean, we say
and how normal it can be.
We say all the time, like, we are just like you. We are trying not to yell at our kids because they're 25 minutes late for school. Like, we're just all trying
because you're in quarantine
together as parents. Yeah.
Right.
Your quarantine video, I hadn't seen that, but I was like poking around the other day. I had missed your like quarantine video where you're drinking wine, Jaimie, and Robin's eating ice cream on the couch. It was like, I was laughing out loud.
We had fun with that one.
Those videos just, they write themselves. Those
videos make our day too.
Everyone should go see that. So, speaking of talking to your families about this, or friends, what are just some of like the most annoying questions you get, from people? Like, what do you get asked? I'm sure this is kind of like inspired by some of your episodes. What are some of the most like annoying or uninformed questions you get? And people will be getting these if they're starting their journey. So like, how do you advise talking through some of those?
I mean, who's the mom is one of the most annoying.
We talk a lot about, like, it really depends on, I don't want to use the word sensitive because that's not fair. Like where you come from. Like, both Jaimie and I are incredibly open. So both of us see that look on someone's face and we know they want to ask, but they're afraid. And we're just like, I had the baby, we used a donor sperm. And then we just like move through it. But there are a lot of people who are very uncomfortable with those kinds of questions. And we have interviewed a ton of people, and one guest said something along the lines of like, what's the real question you want to ask? Because it was 2 moms and a biracial daughter.
And they adopted.
And they adopted. And she was like, think about it. If it's the first question that popped up for you, I've likely already gotten that question 100 times. And what is the thing that you really are asking? Like,
what do you really
would
want to
ask
know?
her things like, where's your baby from? And she was like, Pennsylvania? You know, like it's because the child was biracial. And it's like, what's the question you're really asking? And think about if a person's been asked that a million times. You know, it's just, and is it your business and what's your relationship?
And also, is it
in terms of
important
asking?
for you to know that? But also,
Yeah.
you know, but also like Robin says, like with Robin and I, we're an open book. I'll tell you right up front, my kids have the same donor. We use a donor off of sperm bank.
I thought you were going
like,
to say off of Craigslist. I was like,
It did sound like
how
she was
come I
going
didn't
there,
know
didn't
that?
it?
I didn't do that. But you know what? If that's the path you chose, hey, you go, you do you. But yeah, like, you know, we still get the, who's the real mom? Or like people will say, if I'm complaining about one kid, the kid that I'm not biologically connected to, people I love will say to me, well, that's probably because she's not yours. Like stuff like that is just like, think about what you're saying.
Yeah. And like on the other end of the spectrum, I've never gotten a question like that. It's never, and I don't know if it's because both the kids really look like me and there's assumptions that are made, but it's like, I don't, or maybe it's just because I'm such a big mouth that I throw it all out there before they even get a chance to say something inappropriate. But I do know lots of people get those questions, and Jaimie gets that a lot. You get the grandmother thing too. Tell that one.
Because she's right outside that door. No, because
okay, all right. Never mind. Email us at ovariestalk@gmail.com and we'll share the grandmother story with you.
Because my wife and I look very much alike, basically. And so, you know, the questions you get regarding that are just like, no, that's my wife. I'm going to kiss her in front of you just so you can like stop like ruminating on what our relationship is and why we're with these two kids together. It's
also because Jaimie's tiny. People assume she's young. And when we were recording at Spotify once, someone just said to me, I think I just saw your daughter. And I was like, Jaimie is not my daughter. I was so pissed.
I'm very short. I'm very short.
Like, we're like 5 years apart.
Okay, Jaimie looks young, but Robin does not look like
I
was like, my daughter? I was like,
I know. It happens a lot, but where's daddy? Like people ask my kids, where's daddy? You know, and then like having to navigate that conversation with my kids so that they have a response to give and a knowledgeable response and know how to react to those kinds of questions, because that's a whole nother can of worms.
How do you help them react to those?
Well, we just are constantly telling them about what is known as the origin story, where they came from. We are always telling them their story so that when somebody and showing and talking about it with pride and also just with a sense of this is just what it is. This is all families are different, and this is how our family makeup is. So that when people do, like the guy at the coffee cart says, "Where's daddy?" They can say, I don't have a dad, I have two moms, you know, and just like blow it off and just brush it off. Because the last thing you want is for them to feel any kind of stigma either way, like that it's better than anybody else or that it's worse than anyone else. You don't want to overplay it, and you don't want to not talk about it at all. It's
and then there's more
the
books out there.
conversation.
There's more books out there too, like the Happy Together children's books and such. They have like a different version for IVF and surrogacy and donor conception. You can read to your kids about kind of where they came from. There's more resources, like Lisa Schumann at Center for Family Building.
Love her.
Yeah, we love her. Amazing. I think there's like more help with that communication, because you know, it doesn't come with a manual for any of us. So all the help we can get, right?
Yeah.
That's
And
what I was going to say. It's also about putting something in place. It's if and when, it's probably more of a when than an if, that they experience somebody like saying something to them. You know,
microaggression.
Like my kids go to a summer camp. It's one week out of the summer where they are with other kids from LGBTQ families, and they talk about what it's like to be from a gay family, what it's like to be other, what it's like to be, you know, a good person, and that helps also give them language that doesn't come from me or their other mom. And I think that's important too, so that they have a place for their, like, recognizing that just because you were intentional and made this beautiful family doesn't mean your kids aren't going to have issues when they go out into the world, and setting up stuff and putting stuff in place that supports them for that.
Yeah, that's amazing. What's the name of the camp?
It's called Camp Highlight.
Oh, just so everyone's aware.
It's awesome.
I can't wait for my kids to go. They're not old enough yet, but soon.
Yeah. Rose is almost. She could go this summer.
You have to be 8, right?
Yeah. but they make exceptions sometimes.
I
But
don't think
anywho,
she's ready. Anyway.
yeah, okay.
She's
We're
ready.
not going to worry about that right now.
Or she's not, yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so this is, we heard this one, but this is an earth-shatteringly important question. Just kidding. Who's your dream podcast guest and why? And there's no rules.
God.
You guys could agree and choose one that you agree on or disagree and both each choose
Robin,
two.
before we answer anything, I would like to first say every single guest we've had has been our dream.
Is your
guest.
dream.
Oh, here we go.
However,
our founders on
Jamie
here.
apologize for everyone.
Hi, Ryan. However, and now we can go. I want everybody to feel the love.
I have a couple.
You're going to say mine.
You're a dream guest that
I'm
has
gonna
not
say-
been on yet because everyone's tied currently.
Right,
for
right,
favorite.
right.
Yes. I want Wanda Sykes.
That's mine, right there.
I want Brandy Carlisle.
Oh my God, I want that one too.
I want wait, there's somebody else
The new soccer stars that just got pregnant.
Yeah. No, I mean I want them, but I'm just saying I'm talking the ones like when we interviewed Rosie O'Donnell, like the two of us were just like, and we were like, we're done. It doesn't get better than that. Like she had been on our list of like if
That was like we'll never make it, and then she was like, yeah, sure.
We were
what?
like, really? For real?
That's amazing.
Like,
And you interviewed
the penthouse.
who was it? Megan Rapinoe or who?
Her twin sister, Rachel.
Rachel Rapinoe, yeah.
Rachel, Rapinoe.
That was amazing. I'd love Glennon Doyle.
Yes, and her partner's a soccer player too. I forget her name. I can see her face.
Abby Wambach.
Yeah. Like there's so many amazing like people out there, but it's like we always say, and this is like a button to what Jaimie was saying. We don't want the podcast ever to become just like wall to wall famous people and influencers, because like the third, like we try to like balance it out, like so at least a third of our episodes are listeners. And those are some of the most, if not the most powerful stories, because they're personal and just a person's story versus like sometimes, you know, famous people have an agenda or they're moving things in a certain way. I don't ever want to lose the listeners. Because those are, like the couple that we interviewed last night said something like, "Oh, it's just a boring old story," and we were like, I can't even believe you said it was a boring story. It was like amazing.
It was wild. I couldn't believe the things that were coming out of their mouths. So,
or someone who wasn't. I think it was maybe your first one that isn't gay, but is an ally, Michelle Buteau, who was like
Michelle Buteau,
the funniest hour. Yeah, that was an amazing.
My face
story.
hurt.
Oh my God,
talking to her.
Oh.
So,
she's so funny.
Manifesting Wanda Sykes.
Yes, please.
I think I just did the same thing as the sperm.
Yeah. Bloop, bloop, bloop.
Bloop.
Bloop, bloop, bloop. Yes, please, Wanda Sykes. And her wife, because the two of them together are so funny.
Hilarious.
That would be amazing. I'll look out. It's going to happen. I'll look out for it. Yeah. Okay, so can you share just a final, before we wrap up, a final piece of advice, words of wisdom or inspiration for those just considering their family building journey?
I mean, it's what Jaimie said. Follow your gut. Like, do your research, buy our book. I mean, these are the critical things. These are the critical things. Just, go to GoStork. Yes, I'm sorry.
Go to GoStork. Yeah. Find your resources.
You really do know yourself better, right?
Yeah. And follow your gut and find your resources. And also know that however this turns out, first of all, know that there are going to be turns and dead ends in your journey, no matter how it goes. And just know that however it turns out, it's going to be okay. It's going to be the right way. You will be okay in the end. Just go on, like think of this as a journey and you're going there.
And I would also add, take the pressure off wherever you can.
Yeah.
Because that's part of my objection to being put into the infertility cycle is not because it's like there's something bad or wrong with being infertile or having fertility issues. That's like just that's just, science. But like the pressure it's like, how are you possibly going to have a baby when there's this pressure in this, like, you need to just like, whatever you can, like do the meditations, calm down and remember that once you get that baby, which you're going to get that baby somehow, but once you get that baby, like all of this, you're going to forget about all this. and you're going to just be into parenting, and it will all feel so inconsequential. It doesn't when you're in the middle of the ride, the roller coaster, as we like to call it, but just
it's a roller coaster.
Calm yourself down whenever you can, because it'll only serve you.
You'll get there.
I agree. Yeah, I had one of those like trust your gut moments where my pregnancy almost fell apart a couple months from the end, and it was just, I knew something was wrong. Nothing had showed up on a recent scan or anything, and trusted my gut and went in. And you have to stay calm. It's just best for everyone, but it's one of those things you just kind of like go into that mode of like trusting yourself but staying calm, and it's all going to work out okay. Like, there's amazing medical providers once you're working with the right people. So it's just about like really doing that research and making sure you're working with the best people for you that will also listen to you when you say something is wrong or something doesn't feel right. So
yes.
So what is coming up for you guys? Like, what are you excited about? What should we look out for? The thing you said was last year, Robin and Jaimie said is coming up.
Oh my God.
Well, that's like a private speaking thing at a company, but we're excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on just continuing to expand the brand. We've added a live stream that's every week, which you guys have been on, and I think we're having you back soon. We're talking about that. Where we've expanded beyond, like, the podcast really is what it is. It is us talking to one family or one person about their journey to create their family. But with the live stream, which is every Thursday at 4:00 Eastern, and it's on our YouTube page and our Facebook page, we've expanded, and Jaimie and I talk parenting. We talk LGBTQ news, pop culture, and we have all kinds of really cool guests on that are talking to us about women's health and all, we've just really like broadened the conversation. And it's just, Jaimie and I call it the show that nobody asked for, but we keep making it. So
and people keep showing up.
They do.
That intro is so funny. You always say that, and it's like, I think a lot of people are asking for this. It was really needed.
I mean, we know there's always one person, two people who love it. My mom and Robin's sister. And Robin's sister. Yes. and then we go from there. But that's fun.
I remember the first live stream we did, I was packing with my friends because I was like, nobody's coming. I was like, called my sister, called my friend Heather. I was like, you better get into this. If people come, you can leave. I was like, but I need you there. I was like,
people came.
It's just me and Jaimie on the phone.
But that's what we end up on the phone way too long anyway, just talking about nonsense, mostly because I can't end a conversation, but because we're doing it right now. So like it's trying to end right now, and I keep bringing things up.
No, I mean, and that's how you kind of intro with the show no one asked for, which everyone's listening to. But as far as before we sign off, on the theme of signing off, which you perfectly segued into, who came up with X ovaries out? Because X ovaries out, that is my favorite.
That's so funny.
It just happened.
Like everything else.
First record. Like,
because we were so awkward. The first record, we were like, do you know what to do? What are we doing? And we just started talking, and then we didn't know how to end it. We were like, what do we do? I don't know. And then I think Robin went eggs, and I went ovaries, and then we both went out. Like, it was so awkward, but then it stuck.
I'd say that's organic. It's not awkward. It's just organic. It was meant to be, right?
It's just one of those random things that stuck.
And one of my favorite things about that is when we did our very first live show at the Green Space in New York City. Stacey Ann Chin was our guest, and she is one of my favorite guests. We've had her on Rocket. She's a powerhouse. If you don't know Stacey Ann Chin, follow her Instagram. Buy all her books. She's she's a poet and an activist, and she's just phenomenal. But she literally came out to the audience and was like, we're not on board with this, right? These two are crazy. And then it was just making fun of us. And
these
then at
two
the
are
end,
weird.
She's like, what is this? And then at the end, when we were doing the eggs ovaries out live, she was just like, we'll do it, but it's weird. And it was like such a badge of honor to have her make fun of us.
Yeah. We like
I think of it all the time that we're doing it.
Yeah, and like we love it when Judy Gold yelled at me once, and that's one of our badge of honors. She told me to shut the F
Rosie
up.
O'Donnell told you to time people's stories, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So
it was the best note.
We want her to give us more notes. She told us to reach out and she'd give us more notes, but we got scared.
No,
we didn't want to bother her.
We did. No, we did. She did like 3 episodes and gave us notes.
And yeah.
See,
But
everything's on the spectrum.
Rosie, come back to us. Come back to us, Rosie.
Rosie, come back.
Produce us.
See,
Rosie,
one
come back.
person's will do it, but it's weird, is another person's like favorite. That's me.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I think Stacey Ann secretly loved it too. Let's be real.
She did. She came
she
back on the
wished
show
she had
again.
come
She
up with
loves
it.
us.
Yeah.
She's not able to say it out loud, but she loves us, and we know it.
Yeah.
I
We
know
know
it.
it. Yeah. Oh my God.
Hi, Noelle.
Hi, Noelle.
Thank you so much. This was so fun and informative.
This was delightful.
Yes. Thank you.
If anyone has any more questions for us or for Robin and Jaimie, feel free to DM us. If you have other topics you'd like us to cover, let us know as well in the comments or DMs. I, love suggestions, and hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Yes, and
Thanks,
stay tuned to our
guys.
live stream. We're going to have GoStork on the live stream soon. So
Yay.
we're going to just keep the partnership going forever and ever and ever.
No, Erin. Bye, RH.
Bye, RH.
Bye,
Jaimie.
Bye.
I don't know how to leave. I know. I don't know how to leave.
Like, what was
You have to, I think you press, do we just press the X? That's what we do?